A big welcome to all the viewers who have joined us in this episode on Soul to Soul Talk Show. We will be continuing this journey with Brother Anthony Phillips from UK, as we had mentioned previously. Brother, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have you with us.
Hi.
In the previous episode, he had told us that to change this wrong formula and make it right, that is how you feel and then you see what happens, is to first decide to do it and then make a connection with the person who ever does it, that is God. Brother, so this connection with God has had a huge influence on your life, right?
I'd say yes, huge and subtle. You know, it's really easy not to do what God wants. And then, of course, you go into this philosophical question, does God want anything?
Right.
This is deep. But it's really easy to kind of do your own thing. And it's easy to get moralistic. In other words, say, what's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do? And I don't think that's very healthy. Because if you start writing it down and start deciding on what the good behavior and bad behavior is, you'll soon start giving them the thumb screws. You know, you really will. And I don't think that's where it's at now. So to me, it's not so much of what the right thing to do and what the wrong thing to do is. It's just the effort is to maintain, in a sense, the right consciousness. And this, I get back to this subject of soul consciousness. And, you know, that delivers a very natural life that flows. And then, yes, you can direct your life. And, of course, we all have to decide what it is that we want to do, what our objectives are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine. And, but really the work isn't to be good. The work is to just maintain consciousness, soul consciousness. Because when you maintain soul consciousness, then everything else kind of just goes from that. And you can decide, I don't want to be soul conscious. You know, there was a film years ago called The Matrix. Did you ever see The Matrix? It was very popular.
It was, yes. I've heard of it.
And there's this moment where one of the guys says, you can take the red pill or the green pill. And the green pill, you're going to be aware of what's going on. But with that comes a lot of challenges and a lot of work. With the red pill, you can go back to sleep. And it's very similar, what we're talking about. Do you want to be asleep on drugs? Because actually this formula, what's going on, so how do I feel? That's the formula of the drug addict. Drugs are good, feel good. Drugs are bad, feel bad. And so drugs bad, find better drugs. And that's what everyone's doing. You know, it's the drug of life, you know? And that's why you see all the behaviors you see of people working so hard, marriages breaking up, alcoholism, everything that goes on. And in fact, you introduced me 4 programs ago as an advertising executive. Well, that's what I used to do. The whole advertising business is based on that formula.
Right.
What's going on? So how do I feel? You know, there's a very famous old Coca-Cola commercial. Things go better with Coke. Think about it. Things go better with... Yeah.
So Coke decides if things will go better with you.
Yeah, if you've got a Coke in your hand, things will go better. So we better get a Coke in our hand. But that's the same with everything that's sold on TV, you know? It's the same. That's the formula, and we're all in the game. But if you can switch that, then you're no longer in the game. It means you're much more difficult for people to manipulate. But it means you're much more powerful. And I don't know about you, I'll give you the choice. You can be weak or powerful. Which would you prefer?
Powerful.
Powerful. Powerful, why? Because you want to do something. Yeah. So.
Now that you are enjoying the fruits of this connection with God and this spiritual lifestyle, do you feel it like a moral responsibility on your side to share this with others, to influence others to take up this?
Yeah, the temptation is to talk to them. You fool!
Again, share information.
You fool! Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? Let me stick this down your throat. And of course, everybody has their own perspective, and goes, "Oh well, I really like what he was saying," but And so I do not believe that the world needs any more TV programs like this telling them what to do.
I want to see it happening.
Yeah, well, you know, here we are because it's something to do, I suppose. But it's yes. If I am living by that second formula, if I am that, then whoever I'm with, in whatever situation, there will be the feeling of truth. And I think the feeling of truth has things like harmony, sunshine in the mind. You know, this is wherever I go, anyone who's near me, whether they're speaking to me or not, is sunshine in their mind. This is a result of living this material, living this way, because you become. So your life is the communication. But the communication, in a sense, can never be through words, because as soon as you put it into words, it becomes information.
Directions.
Yeah.
To do this.
And if it's behaviors, you know, if everyone said, "Oh, Anthony, he was an awful person before, and he's become such a nice person. Oh, this Brahma Kumari stuff is good. Oh, this information is good." That's not even the case. It's more magical than that. It's really vibrational. And if I have people saying, "My God, I had no idea. He just looked like a pretty ordinary guy to me," and he was just, but you know, it's like, I just feel so good. I feel like I feel safe. I feel like I belong. I feel like Anthony belongs to me, and I belong to Anthony. I feel like we've been friends all our lives. I feel like, do you know, the greatest gift anyone can give to anyone is to see them, is to know them. You know, if I know you completely and you know me, then we're automatically completely in love with each other. Yeah, but if the whole world knew each other, there wouldn't be any problems.
Right.
There wouldn't be any need for greed. There wouldn't be any need for anyone to take anything off anyone. It would be. So this is pretty big stuff, you know. But the thing is, when we talk about it this way, it sort of seems impossible.
Right.
And it may be impossible, but it's really worthwhile doing. It's really worthwhile experimenting with. You know, okay, so you can't change the world. Okay, what about, you know, you and your next door neighbor, or you and your mother and father, or whatever it is, you know, your close relationships. But the problem is, you know, we're sitting in a relationship in our family, and we're all bickering and all sorts of things going on, and we say, okay, we read all this material, or you listen to this, and oh yeah, okay. So what you do is you go from the outside in. You try to be nice, because you think that that's the way to change, but it ain't. Or it's just not. I mean, it's convenient and it's nice to be nice, but it's not doing anything spiritual. And the only thing we can do is go deep, deep, deep. Sit, sit, sit. Be. And then begin to grow naturally and normally. And then very subtly, without anyone noticing, it'll all have changed. That's the way I see it. And this is why, you know, I said a few programs ago, looking good syndrome is the biggest disease, because it cons us all. It cons ourselves, you know. Look at me, I'm behaving properly. Look at me. Even in terms of my thoughts, checking my thoughts. It's kind of more deep than thought. You know, one of the things that happened a few years ago was that Daddy Prakashmani, who was the only person I've ever met who actually was like this, like what I'm talking about. And what's amazing is that anyone that ever came in front of her felt great, no matter how awful you were. I know, because I was feeling pretty awful sometimes, and I'd turn up in front of her and just feel great. And I just couldn't understand what was going on, because she never seemed to do anything. And what happened is, towards the end of her life, she got ill, and her mind wasn't so aware of what was going on. And you know, that period of time, about a year or two, when I would go and see her, and she didn't know who I was, and she didn't really know much about what was going on. And you know, if you looked at it from the perspective of normal, what quotes the old normal, the old formula, you'd be upset, you'd be disappointed. But what I was amazed was that when I got in front of her, even without the use of her mind, I got the same feelings as I got before. So this told me that the soul is not the mind, intellect, and what we call sanskars.
Mm-hmm.
It's the soul is deep. It's the power. It uses the mind, the intellect, but and that power of that soul is so subtle and it has the power to change everything. And when I am truly sitting in that consciousness and just emanating, then everything is resolved automatically. You don't have to work, you don't have to worry, you don't have to do anything. It just happens. So I was in a meeting not long ago, and we were we were talking about a lot of different activities that we're doing as a group and all the rest of it. And I got this insight that actually, you know what? We don't have to do any of this stuff. We just have to get to know each other. We just have to know. And if we as a small group really knew each other, the power coming off that would resolve everything. Automatically everything would be done, which is almost unbelievable. And but you think about it. You think about Gandhi. He's a guy, Gandhi, right?
Right.
Everyone
Gandhi.
does. We're in India.
Father of the nation.
Yeah, right. Well, he did very little. Yeah, he said, I think I'll go for a walk. Go and do a bit of salt. Going for a walk is not a big thing. Yeah, I think I'll take my clothes off and make my own. Like very small things. But look what happened. See, and my question is, of course you can say, one thing led to another and all the rest of it. But it was very concentrated. It was about the soul. It was about the purity of intention. It was about very subtle things. And I understand, I'm not a historian, but I understand, you got Churchill puffing away on his cigar saying, couldn't do anything about it, So you got all that power and might of Britain, and you got this guy. And you say non-violence, and because we have to translate these very subtle things into language to explain it. And we say, for instance, we use a word like non-violence, and that's already put it into informational terms. So in a sense, the only thing we can really do when we want to really communicate this stuff is just look at each other through the language of the eyes. Just, you meet someone terribly charismatic. What's that all about? They come into a room and there's something going on, there's excitement, there's a feeling. And this can't be put into words. This isn't information, it's vibration.
But still, to start this journey, this is an advanced stage where you have experience, but to start it, don't you need some information?
Simple.
Don't you need
Go
some
and sit on your seat of soul consciousness. You sit on your seat. And there are techniques, that we teach to do that.
So still, there should be some, exchange of information in that?
Yeah, the information is, and in fact, the best technique I know is the technique of imagining that you're in a cinema. And you sit in your imaginary visualized cinema. And then you imagine that the cinema is inside your head. And so the tiny you is looking at the screen, which coincidentally happens to be exactly where your eyeballs are. And then you say, okay, just recognize the difference between I, the one looking at the screen, and what's on the screen. And of course, what's on the screen, on my screen, is the cameras and you and all the rest of it. And then I can sort of see the difference between the stuff, including the tops of my hands and the tops of my legs, and me. And then I go, okay, I am sitting here on my seat, my imaginary seat, which is really my real seat, my throne. Okay, I said cinema seat, but it could be your throne. And so as long as I stay seated in that throne, then I'm king. And as soon as I step into the screen, then I become a slave to the situation. So while I'm sitting in the seat, I'm operating that second formula, sorry. I am a being of peace and love and happiness. And look, this is what's on the screen. It could be James Bond and, you know, whatnot, but it's not. It's a kind of boring scene of the studio. It's whatever's in front of you, okay? But just keeping that separation. So what you're doing is you're using material you know about to visualize, and you're kind of tricking yourself into becoming soul conscious. And that trick allows you to just get used to it a little bit. And once you get used to it, you can build on it.
So we need this material to initially
you got to start somewhere.
remind ourselves first.
Yeah, got to start somewhere, for sure. So this is what I do. I mean, I think what I do if I'm going to have any influence on anyone, hopefully my influence will be vibrational.
Not through words.
And if I do have to talk to people, and you know, you twisted my arm to come in here and talk to you today, okay, I hope that I can maintain my objective. And I do have an objective, and that is the objective that I've had for a while, and that is to be helpful in revealing God, actually, in revealing...
That is your life's purpose now.
Yeah, revealing the truth. Not, God, oh, let me tell you, God has come. Because, I mean, who's going to believe that? Whether he's come or not, you know. It's that vibration. How powerful am I to do all the things? And I mean, obviously not that powerful, because otherwise, you know, I wouldn't have had to say any of this stuff to you. You know? But it's my goal, and it's what I hold in my mind, and it's what I think about, and it's kept me going for quite a few years. And I'm not that boring, so it's okay. You know, it's socially acceptable. And I think the world is yearning to have this material spoken about in ways that are rational and credible, and not just full of mumbo jumbo. And if I can do, I come from the West, and I can articulate in whatever way I do, and maybe that can help. If it can, great. And sometimes you're successful, sometimes you're not. And of course, what I found in my life is that when you're successful, that's probably when it's bad. And if you're not successful, that's when it's good, because when you're not successful, it's a wonderful mirror to check the self.
Yes, yeah.
And really the main job is to change the self, not to change the world. You know, the BKs used to have this old slogan, change the self to change the world. Well, I never really understood it, but I do think changing the self is the only thing I can really work on. And then assuming
changing the world will
maybe the world will change. I don't know.
Maybe the world will change.
Yeah, maybe it will. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you change yourself enough, I mean, there have been these great Mahatmas in the world, and they seem to have had quite a big effect. And I've noticed that most of the great souls of the world didn't do much. I mean, the Buddha sat under a tree, and Jesus Christ sort of, only trotted around for 3 years, nattering, and Gandhi went for a few walks and this and that. And so, they don't do a lot. It's like Julius Caesar and, Adolf Hitler and, all these characters who get great armies and this, that, and the other. They're okay. I mean, they're in history books and all the rest of it, but they don't seem to have, they're not kind of on the same level as the great souls, So it's like that, really. Yeah.
Do you want me to ask something else, or shall we end it? Okay.
And action.
So has this art of Raj Yoga that you've learned, has it influenced your character? Have you sort of changed any negative ones that you had before?
A lot of people say I've changed, but I sometimes wonder it's maybe I've just got older and more mature. So it's very difficult to say. How much do we change? I have come to the conclusion that Raj Yoga is not, the purpose of Raj Yoga is not to change my character. The purpose of Raj Yoga is to change my consciousness. And in soul consciousness, some things that you might perceive to be not very good probably won't be there. And some things that you perceive should be there probably will be there. I'll leave you to judge whether or not I'm a nice chap and behave correctly. Well, thank you very much. But I think this to me is a very important point, because I do not want to spend my life obsessing whether or not I'm behaving properly, because you can kind of get depressed. Sometimes I'll pass the test, sometimes I'll fail them, but if I fail them, have I been able to learn? And if I can do that, then I know I'm progressing along a good path.
I had an absolutely wonderful time with you, brother, through these 4 episodes.
Thank you very much.
So as brother said, that spirituality is not about just sharing knowledge, but it is just to make your life reflect it. But for that, we need to take that initial step of opening up to new ideas, and we hope this talk with brother Anthony has inspired you to do so. And we will be back with yet another eminent personality in our next episode, and hoping you will join us in that. I take leave from you and brother Anthony. Thank you, brother, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for joining us, and have a great life.